Let's say you get to the end of a sales call and the prospect tells you, oh, I'm not interested. Oh, it's just too much money, or whatever BS objection they give you. Now, a couple days or a couple weeks have passed and you want to figure out how to turn this old lead into a gold lead. Now, you see, most people in this situation are probably just going to ignore this entire pipeline. All right, they're probably just going to let the lost leads go because they already got rejected and they think there's no way this person's going to buy in the future. Or they call them up with some terrible line and leave a voicemail saying, oh, I'm just looking to follow up. Do you need us to decrease the price? It's like, that doesn't work. And they never end up getting the sale because they sound desperate. Now, if this sounds familiar and you want to learn how to follow up with old leads without sounding desperate, then watch this video because I'm going to show you exactly how to do so. All right, let's get straight into it. So this is the follow-up process that if you start following, you're going to start absolutely crushing deals. All right. So number one priority after you finish a call is always going to be to have a touch base scheduled. All right, that's a common mistake a lot of people do is like get the, oh, follow up with me next week, and we don't actually have anything down in the books. That is going to be priority number one. Now, let's say that we've not done that, all right? We haven't done our job correctly in that aspect, and we need to do just like normal follow-ups, which is going to happen sometimes. Some people don't want it on the calendar. It is what it is. We need to play our cards. One of the most undervalued things with follow-ups is going to be getting accurate notes, all right? So if I'm talking to someone on Tuesday, right after that call, I'm going to go into my notes on my CRM, and I'm going to put in every single thing about that call, all right? So what is their current situation? What job are they working at the moment? How much money are they making? What are the main problems they're facing in their startup business that they're trying to start? What are they looking for us to solve for them? What does their desired state look like? What happens if they don't do anything about their situation? All these questions that we got answered through the call, we want to add into that sheet. I'll get into why this is important when we go over scripting a little bit later, but it's going to give you a lot more leverage when you get on the phone with them. Which brings me to my next point, which is going to be the pipeline stages. So there's going to be 3 stages that each prospect is going to move to depending on the time after the call. It's going to go in order of priority, and just like after the call, it's going to go from hot lead to warm lead to cold lead. So for the hot lead, your goal at the end of every sales call, if you have your skill set up to par, is going to be purely logistical. People should not be getting onto you and saying, oh, I'm not interested at the end of the call. What they should be telling you is, I'm interested, I just need to go and get the funds. It should always be a logistical objection. And if it's not, that's number one problem you need to fix, is the skill set side of things. But for the sake of this video, let's just assume that your skill set is totally up to par. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put them into the hot lead so they have the offer and they're going and finding the funds. So as soon as I go ahead and finish the strategy call with this guy, I'm moving him over to the pipeline, which will auto-populate into my smart list, which I'm going to be calling every single day, as you can see here, because it's daily follow-ups. All right, we need to be checking on their funding progress. We need to be sharing success stories. This is one of the things that no one does for some reason, all right? Let's say that you're selling a biz op, all right, and you're getting people to become day traders. Fairly common industry. All right, let's say the person you're talking to is a construction worker, and maybe you have a construction testimony on your page. You're going to want to send that to that guy. And I know that sounds super simple, but it goes hand in hand with everything, right? So if someone is getting on and they're an intermediate trader, you're not going to send them a beginner trader. Same with vice versa, right? If they are a beginner trader, you might think that it's a good idea to go and send them someone who came to your influencer who already makes 10K a month and got to the point where they're making 100 now day trading. That doesn't help them as much as them seeing someone go from 0 to 10. Because naturally as humans, we put ourselves in the protagonist character, right? So if we just built up this guy's dream state on the call and he's like, oh, I want to make 10K a month to go do an X and Y and Z, and you go and send him someone who's already at 10K that wants to get to 100, it's not going to hit the same. But if we send him someone who starts at 0 and they got to the point where they achieve their goals, he's going to naturally put himself into the first person character of that story, and he's going to see himself have success with it. This just keeps them warm over the period of them going and finding the payment. Now, I put address concerns in here just because sometimes you're going to have to do that to keep people warmed up. Ideally, you shouldn't because you already did your job of selling it, but it's just to keep them warm. So just a quick recap on this. Right after the call, you're going to put them into this pipeline stage, which is has offer and finding funds, all right, classified as a hot lead. You're going to be dialing this list every single day until they become a warm lead, in which you're going to put them over to that pipeline. All right, what that is it's going to be has pricing but not ready. So you'll get a couple of these guys, right, where they say, hey, I'm totally ready for it. I'm just going to go and find the funds. And 3-4 days pass and now they're not ready for it, right? That's where you're going to go and put them into the warm lead. We're not going to give up on them by any means. This is where we're going to put them on workflows. All right, so I had something that worked really, really well for me. It was called a fear workflow. So it was about a 60 email, I know this sounds overkill, but it was about a 60 email sequence that I put together, and I would turn someone on it and they would go through and get emails for like 60 days. Not obviously 60 days straight, but they would get emails for like 60 days, sharing tons and tons of stuff, of testimonials, of success stories, everything you could possibly think of. I would seriously sit down and make that. It'll take you a couple hours, but it's totally worth it. I've had people who come back and it's like, I've read every email that you've sent me. and now they're ready to close. So when they're in this stage, we're going to be calling them every few days to still gauge the interest. And again, I'll show you guys a script for this in a bit. We want to take this time to build the relationship, right? So these emails should be very personalized to them as well. After a few days of them in this stage, obviously we're going to need to move them to cold lead. This is when I would usually turn them on a super long-term sequence because I know that they're probably not going to close anytime soon. This is where you're going to do monthly follow-ups. All right. So you'll have a list of these people, you'll have their notes in there, and you'll just dial through it every single time, and make sure to hit these every single day. All right. So ideally throughout the day, you're going to be hitting a hot lead, a warm lead, and a cold lead list at least once a day. You're going to check on their savings progress. You're going to make sure to keep engagement with them. Make sure that they know that it's top of mind. Your company needs to be top of mind for them. All right. Because the thing is, their problem is not just going to go away out of nowhere. They're going to continue to deal with the issues, and they're going to continue to think about ways of solving them. And if you stay on the top of their mind, they're going to come back to you and not someone else. On top of this is where you want to share free resources. All right. Like these are really slept on. If you guys have good YouTube videos, if you guys have good, just like offer content, things that maybe your influencer post or you post, if you're a coach, an online coach watching this, you need to be sending them that stuff all the time to keep them engaged and keep them interested. Now with my teams, I always do a Thursday pipeline review. This is one of the most important things. All right. So on Thursdays, whether it be your morning huddle, whatever it may be, you're going to review every single lead that's in one of these buckets. All right. So nothing gets leaked through the cracks. You're going to update their status, and then you're going to plan what the next action is going to be. Whether call them on this day, update the note here, send them an email here. You want to make sure you're always staying on top of it. Now, at any point here, if you get them back on the phone, if you close them, obviously you're going to change the status to closed. Now, if they're not, then you're just going to continue the exact same plan, which is following that schedule, tracking their engagement. You're going to document your updates, and then the point where they actually close. Now, in terms of the scripting, we can get into that right now as well. This is the golden sheet for follow-ups. It's the best thing that I have used because you're coming across as like you want to help them and not just try to sell them, right? So if I was going down it, I'd be like, hey, is that Mike? Yeah, Mike, it's just John here from High Ticket Syndicate. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Yeah, well, I know we spoke, I don't know if you remember this, we spoke like a few weeks back about possibly getting you some outside help with growing your online coaching program. Is that right? Yes. Okay, well, this call is really more for us to update things in our back end. Are you open to me asking a few different questions so I know where you're at? Pause. The reason we're coming at it from this angle is because we want to diffuse their guard. If they think that we're getting on there just to try to sell them, we're dead. There's no way we're going to close this person. At this point, this is where I told you guys that you need to have the notes there handy, all right? Because I'm going to go on here and I'm going to say, yeah, just going back to the notes here, click onto the notes. I think you mentioned something about back then. I think you were dealing with like X and Y and Z, and like your marketing needed help. Does that ring any bells? Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, because of that, like I know you also mentioned that you wanted to fix that, and it was pretty important to you because you wanted to scale to 100K a month and be able to give money back to your family, right? Yeah. Now, have you found the help you were looking for, or what ended up happening? And at that point, you're just going to almost redo the pre-handling objections. Now we're going to make him understand that, again, that way of thinking has caused him to be in the position where he's still not seeing results. So give me an idea. Are you still experiencing like the marketing needing help, or what are you seeing recently that you're still looking for some outside help on? Oh, yeah, our marketing still needs a lot of help. Oh, how often are you seeing this? And now we're right back into the sales call, okay? So what we want to do at this point is we never want to pitch them on the phone, because chances are we're never going to get them a sale. All right, the goal is to move them from cold to warm to hot to bot. So if we're doing that, we're going to go down and just set the call. So, okay, if it helps you, we're running a sort of promo right now for a few days. Pause. We want to give them an incentive. Now, depending on the situation, I might be able to help you out. Are you available to sit down for like 15, 20 minutes to go over how we might be able to? And again, I'm not even too sure if we can. I need to go and check with the big man. This is going to give us leverage. All right, the goal here, again, is to move them from cold to warm to hot to bot. We want to move them down that cycle to get them to the point of actually paying us. So this is going to be the script I need you guys to be following along, and then making sure you're moving them from stage to stage to stage. And I promise you, if you do this and you stay adamant about this, you are going to absolutely crush. Now, if you guys thought this was valuable, I actually have a totally free resource that's in the description of this video. If you go down there, you'll see it. It's a free objection portal. All right, so all the objections you could possibly handle, everything's in there, along with a application to work with me one-on-one. All right, so I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching as well. If you wanted a more specific approach to this, I actually do have a guarantee as well, where I guarantee you an ROI in the first 90 days of working with me, or else you don't pay. So if that sounds good to you guys, check the description, and I will see you guys later.